Whenever I tell someone who doesn't know me that I play baseball, they're like, "Oh, you mean softball?" I'll be like, "No, it's baseball," but it's been a lot.
I honestly couldn't even tell you like over 1,000 times for sure. Like, do I play softball? Why don't I play softball? Hey, you'd be really good at it.
Oh gosh, can I say every second of the day? Even when I go out to my field, when I was playing pro baseball, and they're like, "Man, you're really good. Where do you play softball?" And I'm like, "Well, I have a baseball in my hand."
I guess it's like automatic. They just think, oh, it's softball, girls, boys, baseball.
Think about what these people are saying, these girls and women's baseball players. It's not just, I've never heard of girls' baseball. And it's not, interesting, how come you play baseball instead of softball? Instead, they're getting corrected, not on purpose, but by reflex. People don't have a place in their brains for women playing baseball, so they just autocorrect what they're seeing and hearing into something else. The idea that softball should be baseball for girls rather than baseball itself is so deeply embedded in American thought that it's become invisible. It's so ingrained that we don't notice it. Well, until now anyway, because you just pressed play on a brand new podcast called Uningrained. This is Uningrained. I'm Steve Hendershot. Uningrained is a show about blind spots, invisible ideas, and hidden assumptions, about identifying them, evaluating them, and when it makes sense, addressing them. This season, baseball is the national pastime, central to America's culture and identity. So when we say that softball is baseball for girls, are we boxing women out of an essential piece of American life? Come along and decide for yourself. And please, subscribe, check out all of the bonus Uningrained content on Substack, and to tell your friends. Thank you. This show only works with your help. Uningrained, Season 1, Episode 1. As I mentioned, my name is Steve Hendershot. I'm a journalist in Chicago and also a Little League coach. The inspiration for this season came when my friend Rachel Gansner told me she wanted to start an all-girls baseball league in our neighborhood. She told me about it, asked me to coach, and I said, "You mean softball?" And then could not believe that I had done that. This episode started with a few clips from girls and women's baseball players, and it should be clear they don't love it when people see a woman with a ball glove and automatically think softball. It's not just irritating, it feels wrong. Here's Justine Siegel, founder of Baseball for All, which hosts an annual girls' baseball tournament that last year drew 500 players to Reno, Nevada from across the country and world.
The son goes and plays baseball, and the daughter is handed a different ball and said, "This is your sport. And you're going to play with a ball that's yellow. You're going to play on the small field, but you're playing the same sport as your brother," when we know clearly it's not.
Girl ball players get diverted from baseball to softball. And to make that work, these days, to make it feel acceptable, you have to conflate the two things. You have to say baseball and softball are the same, so girls and women aren't being denied anything. You have to say softball and baseball are just as alike as men's and women's basketball, that they just happen, in this case, to have different names. But does that work? The women's baseball people hate it, as we've heard. And you know what? The fast-pitch softball folks aren't wild about it either, because it means everybody is constantly comparing their sport to something else, or suggesting they play a version of baseball that's been changed so they can handle it. Here's Morgan Zirkle, one of the stars of the Chicago Bandits, a professional team in the Athletes Unlimited Softball League, or AUSL, and also the head softball coach at Marshall University.
People blur the games and think it's the same when it's really like it's different. Softball is different. And if I wanted to play baseball, I would probably play baseball, and try to, either hang with the boys or join women's. But I play softball because that's the sport I fell in love with. That's the fast-paced game that I love.
Morgan says a few interesting things there. First, of course, straight up, baseball and softball are different sports. But it's the second part that really grabs me. If I wanted to play baseball, I'd do it. It's the thing you say when you're a world-class athlete and you're sick of being asked about some sport other than the one you're world-class at. I didn't even ask her if she could play baseball. She just went there automatically, probably because the constant comparison is something she's lived with since Little League. This story is about baseball and softball. It's about trying to do right as a culture by the players from both sports. We'll hear from a lot of softball people over the course of this season, and what Morgan says here is not unique. Elite softball players have absolutely heard this question. I wonder if you'd be good at baseball. And they do not like it. because they already have a thing that they love, that they're good at. Why does this other thing matter? Why does it keep coming up? They don't like that question any more than Beth Greenwood. Beth is a member of the Team USA national baseball team and the pitching coach for the baseball team at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. We heard her at the beginning talking about all the people asking her if she's heard of softball, telling her she'd probably be good at it.
When a lot of these girls are pushed over, like, oh, just go play softball, why don't you do that? It's like telling someone to do stop doing something they love, and they're just going to have to settle for something else.
Which brings us to the last part of Morgan Zirkle's comment. I play softball because that's the sport I fell in love with. When women baseball players like Beth say something similar, they often get a very different reaction. Instead, it's, you're supposed to play softball. That's the girls' game, not this one. In other words, if you fell in love with baseball instead and didn't get the memo that at some point you were supposed to divert over to this other lane, you messed up. And that's hard to swallow, especially in a country where over the last 150 years, we have built baseball into something that is absolutely singular, into something you're 100% supposed to fall in love with.
Play ball.
My own Little League days came in the 1980s, Lansing, Michigan. Fun historical footnote, one of the T-ball coaches in my league, John Smoltz, went on to a Hall of Fame career as a big league pitcher. That's the era when I got my introduction into the connection between baseball and Americana. There was this string of big Hollywood baseball movies, Bull Durham, Major League, The Natural, 8 Men Out. Field of Dreams came out in 1989, and I remember walking out of the theater and feeling this desperate, urgent need to play catch with my dad. Without realizing it, I was getting baptized into the idea that baseball is more than a sport.
Baseball is a sort of an area where Americans make themselves into Americans. You assert your American identity by playing baseball.
That's Bill Savage, a professor at Northwestern. He's saying that baseball is not just a sport, but some sort of symbol and crucible of national identity. That idea is not new. When America was on the rise in the 19th century, people around the world began to ask, how are they doing it? What makes them special? One answer was the idea of the Statue of Liberty. America was the melting pot where everybody, supposedly, got a shot to make it. And when you give people a chance, often enough, they run with it. The other image was the Wild West, the frontier. It's the idea that while the British were sipping tea at Downton Abbey, Americans were wrestling bears and inventing ways to cross the Colorado River. A people tested under pressure. But then came the Industrial Revolution, a transition from wide-open spaces to factory jobs, desk jobs. How were we supposed to nourish this unique American spirit in an age of punch cards and company housing? Enter sports. Enter baseball, this new sport that wasn't just popular like the pickleball of 1890, but that quickly took on extra meaning as a secret sauce that makes our nation great. Walt Whitman wrote, "Baseball is our game, the American game. I connect it with our national character." Mark Twain called baseball the very symbol, the outward and visible expression of all the drive and push and struggle that defined America in his era. And remember, it was that drive and push and struggle that we credited for America's greatness. The people leading pro baseball at the time couldn't agree more. A.G. Spalding was the former all-star, league executive, and sporting goods impresario responsible for crafting the image of pro baseball at the time, and he went all in on this idea. Baseball, for Spalding, was the uniquely American sport that forged the unique American man. Emphasis on man.
Have we of America a national game? Is there in our country a form of athletic pastime which is distinctively American? Baseball is the American game par excellence because its playing demands brain and brawn, and American manhood supplies these ingredients in quantity sufficient to spread over the entire continent.
Baseball is war. He said that. Baseball is too strenuous for womankind. Our daughters, our sweethearts, our wives, our mothers can cheer for us from the stands, but they can't play baseball. Baseball is too strenuous for a woman.
That was me reading the words of A.G. Spalding and then Jennifer Ring, professor emeritus at the University of Nevada, Reno, and author of a couple of books about women in baseball. And now you see the issue. Spalding believed baseball was a crucible for the American man, not the American woman, also not the British. He was willing to die on these hills to the point where he formed a commission and directed it to come to the logic-defying conclusion that baseball was invented in upstate New York by a Civil War veteran and had absolutely no connection or shared DNA with British games like cricket or rounders. despite a lot of evidence to the contrary that was well known at the time.
Not only did it have to be manly and masculine, but it had to be distinctly American. What Spalding needed was to believe that baseball was entirely organically American, that only American boys somehow could think of throwing a ball against a barn and catching it, or playing catch, or pick up with each other. It was only American and only masculine. And this is the ideology of baseball that develops around the turn of the 20th century, and somehow it stuck.
It did stick. Baseball not only became the national pastime, it became central to the American idea of what makes America special. And in baseball, women, like the British, were very much unincluded. Now, in some ways, that's all in the rear view now. We still love baseball, but it's no longer this singular cultural force. But that history matters. Those echoes still sound. And when American kids fall in love with baseball, it doesn't just mean they found an activity, it means society is working. We're supposed to fall in love with baseball. It is supposed to bind us to our families and communities. It is supposed to forge us and test us for a world in which everybody gets a turn at bat. It just comes down to what you do with it. Spalding loved the idea that on the diamond, class divisions melt away and the cream rises to the top. That's what baseball is supposed to be. Clearly, it hasn't always followed through, not just boxing out women and the British, but also practicing racial discrimination for many decades, for example. But that is what baseball is supposed to be. That's part of what you fall in love with. Which brings us back to that run of Hollywood baseball movies from the late 80s into the early 90s. The biggest hit of them all came out near the end in 1992. Penny Marshall's A League of Their Own, starring Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Madonna, told the story of a real mid-century women's pro baseball league whose story had been mostly forgotten. We'll talk later about the actual league, including hearing from some of the players, but right now I want to focus on the movie itself and the period when it dropped. Because in 1992, it raised the idea of women playing baseball, and that was a pretty unfamiliar concept, a challenging concept even, because of all that Spalding Americana. And people loved it. A League of Their Own became the top-grossing baseball movie of all time. It still holds that title, and it generated a lot of interest about women in baseball, and whether a woman could be a ball player. Here's Bill Savage again.
The key identity in that movie is ball player. Like when Jimmy Dugan, Tom Hanks' character, before he sees the light, just says, "I still say you're not ball players." And then when, the famous no crying in baseball scene, he's treating them like ball players. And everybody ends that scene too soon. They end with the no crying. And it really goes on another beat or two where the umpire comes over and says, you should treat these women like you would your mother, or these young ladies like you would your mother. And he replies, "Did anyone ever tell you look like a penis with a little hat on?" And he gets ejected, of course, and it's over. But he's treating them like ball players. And that suggests there's ways in which baseball creates identity that transcend race, class, gender.
People who saw the movie got curious about whether women still played ball. And sure enough, some did. They weren't explicitly outlawed. But there was no league of their own either. No forum for women to play baseball against one another. In the 90s, just like today, girls and women could play with two caveats. You had to be good enough to make the guys' team, and you had to embrace the idea of being the one girl in a dugout with the guys. In California, a couple of breakthrough athletes did exactly that. We're going to kick off our story with their stories because they illustrate that women can play high-level baseball, but also, and especially, because they show what a weird world we've created for girls and women who buy into the notion that baseball is special and who dare to excel at it.
When I was like 8 or so, I went to the conditioning coach for the Oakland A's. My dad was with them at the time. And I said, "Can you give me a weight training program and a conditioning program?" And I went to the coaches and said, "Can you give me a throwing program?"
This is called access. Carey Schueler had a lot of it. Her dad, Ron, played 8 years in the big leagues, then worked as a coach, then an executive. Carey grew up at major league ballparks.
Spent the year of 86, I think I was 11, in Pittsburgh. And that was Barry Bonds' rookie year. And I, for whatever reason, I think probably because he was a really young guy. I think he was like just out of ASU. And I don't know if it's because, like, again, all the guys were older, whatever. For whatever reason, we just like connected and hung out every day. And he was like, man, this girl's got something. And it sort of like went from there, where the players started noticing and all that stuff.
Again, access. And also, she's pretty good. Around that time, Carey starts playing baseball on boys' teams. She never even entertains softball as a possibility. She's a star pitcher, a girl star pitcher, and that comes with friction.
I was certainly aware that I was the only girl, from whether it was other teams' reactions or parents on the other teams. That still astonishes me to this day, the things that were said from some of the boys on other teams, but the fathers on other teams, and occasionally the mothers, is what always like sort of took me aback. You know, like, what in the hell are you doing here? You know, get into the kitchen, vulgar things, things like that. Again, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Mostly from other fathers, but at times other mothers, you know, thinking that I didn't belong there as well. It's still to this day, I'm like, and it's something that unfortunately I sort of got used to and helped me grow a thick skin, and probably helped me in part make me the athlete that I was, and was just not going to take any crap and was just going to keep my focus and continue to work.
Oh, good. Yes, that was perfect. Okay, stop it out.
I want to stop for a second to make a broader point about this story. We're going to talk to a lot of unicorn athletes this season, the best of the best. The ones who feed on ridiculous odds in competition and who have so much success that they're pretty well equipped with the confidence to handle even those extreme situations. Carey is one of them. But that's not every Little Leaguer. For every unicorn, there are many, many normies, and Little League is for them too. They are all supposed to enjoy themselves, all supposed to be challenged within a safe, secure structure that equips them to come out stronger and more confident on the other side. I just took a Little League training course to get ready to coach this season, and the goal is to create an environment where the challenges are surmountable, the stakes are survivable, to nurture a dugout that will accept each kid and cheer on their next at-bat, no matter how the last one went. So when we're talking about girls and women playing baseball with the guys, remember that not every girl is a superstar athlete who can text with Barry Bonds after the game. And even for Carey, who is a unicorn in terms of talent and has the support of big leaguers, I'm not sure that what she experienced qualifies as a set of reasonable challenges within a safe and secure environment.
It got to the point where there are moments where I wondered, is it worth it? Like, what's the ultimate goal here? And to me, it was, you know, I kept pushing through. And I think part of it was also that I was, and it's weird to talk about yourself this way, but I was a pretty exceptional athlete at a young age. And I was better than quite a few of the boys that I played with. And I think that was just sort of the extra trouble for some parents, that it wasn't just that I was out there, which I'm sure angered a lot of people, but it was at the level that I was doing it. And apparently, and I'm using quote fingers here, embarrassing their sons. My thought was always, it wasn't a motivation like, oh, I'm just going to show you. It was just, it would remind me at times like my focus and like, yes, I want to be the best. I don't care who I'm competing against. I want to be the best. And it would be a sort of reminder of that. But I didn't sit back and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go embarrass your son, so I'm going to work harder so I can do that. That didn't interest me at all. You know, did I enjoy striking them out with like a great slider and buckling their knees and sending them back sort of embarrassed? Yeah, but I don't care if they were a boy, a girl, an alien, or a goat up at bat.
You're telling me you got all this trash talk and you never looked over at the bleachers after a strikeout?
Oh, sure. I'm positive there are a few moments where I might have like locked eyes with the dad and not let go and been like, are you enjoying this? Because I am.
All of that is just a setup for the thing I really want to focus on with Carey, which is the choice she faced at the end of high school. See, she was also an awesome basketball player, the player of the year for her age in California, lots of scholarship offers, but she also continued to have success on the baseball diamond. By then, her dad was the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, and, well, remember what I said about access?
My top speed, I hit like 88 or something, which is not bad for a left-handed pitcher. So the scouts come to my dad, and they say, you know, she could pitch, she could play. You know, we could legitimately see her going to rookie ball and playing. She could go in college and play at the next level. She absolutely deserves to be drafted. She has earned it. If she wants to do this and try at the next level, we absolutely believe in her. Like, we want this. And my dad's first thought was absolutely the hell not. Do not bring it up again. And they said, well, why not? And he said, I'm trying to run a ball team with this team. I'm GM of a club. I have enough to worry about. I don't want to hear about the nepotism. I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear about that. They came back and said that we really want to. We really want to give her that opportunity. If she wants to go and play rookie ball, she should. She has earned it. She's earned it. She's earned it. Finally, my dad said, like, okay, later rounds, make sure it's like really late.
And so, in the 43rd round of the 1993 Major League Baseball amateur draft, the Chicago White Sox selected Carey Schueler, making her the first woman ever drafted by MLB. Carey had to choose between basketball and baseball, and both of the reasons she ultimately chose basketball are really important to our story. First, Carey's experience as the only girl in her high school baseball team was just harder than her experience as a girls' basketball star.
All I wanted to play was baseball. I loved it. But it shifted at that point. And as much as it was a lot of hearing that stuff at a really young age, it got more intense, like the spotlight, the comments, why don't you just go play softball? That I enjoy the competition of it and I enjoy the sport because it is my love and it is my favorite. But it did take some of the joy and the love of the experience, not the game, but the experience.
Second, and this is a really crucial point, Carey could not help compare her athletic success on the baseball diamond to her success on the basketball court, even though it's a deeply flawed comparison.
I think the tipping point was that as much as baseball will always be my first love, I was a better basketball player. Like, I was a really good baseball player, but was I the best? Absolutely not. I was one of the best in basketball. I was very, very good at it. And I think I felt that I would have the best chance of success.
I also love basketball. I have no issue with Carey's choice, but I do want to call out her logic. She was a special basketball player, competing with girls. She was a really good baseball player, her words, good enough to get drafted, but not truly special. Not as the only girl on the team. Not as a young woman competing in high-level high school baseball against dudes who at that point had gone through puberty and were bigger and stronger. Carey says she wasn't special. Well, listen to this. 88 miles an hour is close to as fast as any woman has ever thrown a baseball, before or since. Carey did it in high school. Carey did get drafted, but even she barely noticed just how special she was. Nor did others outside of those White Sox scouts. There's a footnote on the baseballreference.com page about the 1993 draft. It calls Carey's selection, quote, an apparent publicity stunt. Carey Schueler got to the precipice of pro baseball in the 90s before deciding it wasn't her path. But a few hours south, also in California, there was another teenage girl, also a star pitcher, and for Ila Borders, there was no plan B. She was convinced that it was her purpose in life to play pro baseball. Ila was a crafty lefty who fooled hitters with slow pitches that darted and sank rather than punishing them with an overpowering fastball. Like Carey, she was a dominant youth player and a very effective high school pitcher in a boys' league. Ila didn't get drafted, though. Instead, she played college ball, first at Southern California College, then at Whittier College. The first baseball game Ila starts for Southern California College is mobbed by media. ESPN, CNN, Fox, Sports Illustrated, even a TV crew from Japan. She throws all 9 innings in a 12-1 win. Now it's David Letterman, Jay Leno, Good Morning America. She also gets Barry Bonds' phone number. Barry Bonds apparently is an underrated force supporting women ball players in the 90s. Anyway, it was a lot. The LA Times called it Ila Mania. The blowback was a lot, too.
They did everything impossible to get me to not play. People were mean, spit on me, threw beer. Like, I can go through the whole gamut. I still get hate mail. It's crazy. That was kind of my experience. So I became very closed. I really wasn't open. It was a way to protect myself. I chose that, though, because, like I said, I thought I was made for a purpose, and my purpose was to pave a trail and to be the best that ever lived. Like, I really believed that and thought that. They flat out told me if I went out there and failed, I would be setting women back years. And that takes a toll on you, especially if you go out there and win, you're like, yes. But when you lose, it feels like you just let down half of the world. That was a big burden back then.
Ila went on to pitch several seasons of professional men's independent league baseball with the St. Paul Saints, Duluth Superior Dukes, and Madison Black Wolf. The league wasn't part of the formal minor league system that feeds the majors, but in many cases the level of play is higher. These leagues are full of guys who reached the upper levels of the minors or even the majors and then stalled out. They're older, they're experienced pro players, compared to the lower minors, which are full of 19 to 23-year-olds hoping they're on the way up. In 1998, Ila recorded her first win as a starting pitcher in a professional game. There's a ball from that game in the collection at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Ila made it as far as any woman has made it in baseball, which is exactly what she set out to do.
My main mission was to become or try to pave a path for somebody to play professional baseball. That was the thing. I wanted to go up as high as I could. Obviously, major league level, that was my goal. But it's pretty darn tough to make it there. So my thing is play professional baseball, be successful, get a win, be a part of a championship team, and go as high as you can. When I was playing pro ball, I had tons of opportunities to make money. Like, hey, we want to do a documentary on you. We want to follow you around everywhere. We want to take all of this and we'll give you and they were going to give me a lot of money at that particular time. And I had to make a decision. Am I doing this for money or am I doing this because I want to be the best that ever lived? And I thank goodness at my young age with my parents' guidance, they asked me that, how do you want to be known? And I'm like, I don't care about money. I don't want to be known as that. I don't want to do that. I want to go and win a championship. I want to prove my worth. I want to show them I'm a competitor. I'm legit. This is not, a gimmick. That's my number one goal. I was there to compete and win, and I became a different person. People are like, man, you're mean. And I'm like, yeah, I become a different person when I'm on the field.
Ila had the baseball career that she wanted for herself, minus making it all the way to the majors. But she did pay a price. She's another one of those unicorn athletes and competitors that kind of wants to pay that price because it represents the ultimate challenge. But the challenges were real, and a lot of them remain challenges today. First, like it or not, as the one woman on a men's team, you just do stand out. You may want to blend in and play ball, but that is not on the menu. You're changing in some weird makeshift locker room, all the guys are adjusting their locker room routines to accommodate you, and you hate it because you're trying to fit in, not stand out. Then it gets even worse on the field. I talked to one of Ila's college teammates. He didn't want to go on the record, but playing on a team with Ila colored his college baseball experience, just because of all the extra attention and how even the other teams acted differently around them. He enjoyed watching her get guys out after their opponents treated her like a novelty or a joke, his phrase, but that didn't change the fact that their team became this strange curiosity. In her book, Ila talks about watching A League of Their Own and feeling jealous while watching the fictional players hang out on the rides from game to game. There was a closeness and a sense of being at ease on a women's team that Ila knew wasn't just fiction because she'd experienced it playing youth basketball. Her baseball experience was not the same thing. Every once in a while, she contemplates life in a parallel universe with women's baseball.
Oh my gosh, I'm the pioneer. Oh my gosh, all eyes are on me. Oh, I've got to do this. Oh, I've got to prove myself. And it's tiring and it's taxing. And then you go on an all women's team and you play and you got that team camaraderie. People are joking around. It's not all about you and the eyes are on you. You just go out there and you compete and you do the best you can and be more, I don't want to say more of a team player, but all I can think about is I would have been more relaxed and more of a goofball, having a good time, maybe not being so serious, and having a little less stress.
Again, that's just Ila daydreaming about a different world compared to the world she actually inhabited. Youth baseball is a formative experience. It was for Ila. But listen to this and see if it sounds like it's the right kind of formative.
Just be hounded your entire life. Like, that's really detrimental to a person. You're ugly, you're this, you're that, you're horrible, we want to kill you. Like I said, it makes you be a certain way. When I was done with baseball, I had to rewire my brain a little bit to be more open to people and not as hard. So I think if I were with women and not being in that pioneer role or at that time, I probably wouldn't have been like that.
And then there's the other challenge of being a woman and playing men's pro baseball. Men and women are different. This is pro sports, and everybody out there is a unicorn, but the men are bigger and stronger. As a crafty left-hander rather than a power pitcher, Ila's game was maybe better suited than Carey's to enabling her to have success in men's baseball. But even Ila stalled out eventually. And even Ila wishes she had a chance to show what she could do on a level playing field against other elite women athletes. Like, could she have been the baseball version of Asia Wilson if there had been a baseball version of the WNBA?
You know, you think of all the other sports, it's like hockey. You have women's hockey, tennis, like all these other sports, rugby. You have women's rugby, everything. But you come to baseball and you go to softball and people are like, oh, well, it's the same. No, it is not. It is not. And if it's not, then tell the guys to go play it. It's a different game. It's just frustrating. I think what you hear in my voice is frustration of why can't we be like all the other sports and have Major League Baseball, USA, like all of them support a women's league. My dream is just to be like the WNBA or like women's soccer, like women's baseball, have something like that and have MLB support it just like they're supporting softball. And that would be fantastic.
When Carey and Ila played a generation ago, there was interest around girls and women's baseball, but not much opportunity. Playing ball was harder than it should have been. What about now? When my friend Rachel started that all-girls league in Chicago, I didn't know what to expect. And it wasn't like hundreds of girls sprang forth that first season who'd been breathlessly awaiting a chance to play baseball with girls. We did get a couple dozen, and from several different categories. Some who had played in the co-ed spring league, a few curious softball girls, and some girls who weren't interested in either softball or co-ed baseball, but thought this was worth a go. It's what happened when those girls started playing together that caught my eye. Instead of sitting by themselves in the corner of a dugout the way they did in the spring co-ed league, the girls were at the center of their team. They were leaders of this league culture that was so fun, so warm, so eager to embrace this game and what it takes to play it well. And they got better, so much faster than in the co-ed league. They got excited about themselves as baseball players. Fun stuff happened, some great media coverage and the chance for some of the players to stand on Wrigley Field before a Cubs game. The coolest thing was when a whole baseball team of elite middle and high school girls showed up for our league's last day. These were high-level women's players we didn't even know existed. The star player, Amira Hundress, wanted something for our girls that she also wants for herself.
To have a home and to feel like they deserve to play baseball and they don't have to be, pushed or shied away to go play softball. It's just creating a community and an opportunity to be able to keep playing baseball.
Soon I learned there's an annual youth girls baseball tournament that draws more than 500 kids from around the world. There's a national team and a World Cup. There's a women's pro baseball league starting play this summer, 2026. Amira is part of it. It feels like a potential breakthrough moment, and clearly part of a larger surge for all girls and women's sports, including softball. This season, we're going to talk about everything that's contributing to that momentum, but we're not going to start there. We're going to start with a moment of similar excitement and opportunity from a long time ago. Another time when there was a cresting wave of interest and activity in women's sports. Back then, girls across the country wanted to play baseball. They sued for the right to play. They won. But instead of making their long-awaited triumphal entry into the national pastime, something strange happened. Something that effectively killed women's baseball for 2 generations before it even had a chance. What on earth happened? That's next time on Uningrained. This episode of Uningrained was reported and produced by me, Steve Hendershot. Rachel Gansner joined me for several of the interviews. Nathan McDonald is not audible in the episode, but has been invaluable in bringing this show to life in many respects, including creating Uningrained's brand and visual identity. Check out his handiwork at uningrained.com. Steve Reese provided feedback on the script, and I've relied on Todd Manley for production advice. Many people gave their time to be interviewed for a podcast that did not, at the time of their interview, exist. For more, visit uningrained.com as well as our expanded universe at uningrained.substack.com. Uningrained is a production of Cedar Cathedral Narrative Studio. Thanks, and see you next time.